On it, Midwin Charles, an attorney with Midwin Charles Associates, that Manafort got an unusually low sentence because it was Manafort, or that white-collar criminals kind of get hooked up?
White-collar criminals kind of get hooked up. And it's unfortunate, and I think this is important for all of America to see. And I've been saying all along since the Mueller investigation, this is sort of shining a spotlight on how the justice system treats some people and how it treats others. And defense attorneys, such as myself, have always said that the justice system, in many ways, is unjust to certain people. When you look at, for example, Khalif Browder, a young black man who spent 3 years in jail simply for an alleged stealing of a backpack, never convicted. When you look at Crystal Mason in Texas, who has been sentenced to 5 years in jail for voting while on probation. And when you look at Wesley Snipes, right, also a wealthy man, also an actor, but also black, was sentenced to 3 years in jail for misdemeanors, 3 misdemeanors, for failing to file a tax return. So this disparity is something that we've been seeing for a long time in the criminal justice system, and it's not surprising. But it's unfortunate because when you look at the number of crimes that Manafort has committed, and you went through a lengthy explanation of just how flagrant and repeated.
4 years.
4 years. And the idea that someone like this would get such a downward departure is really unjust. What's glaring here also is that Manafort has committed these crimes over decades. What was the Southern District of New York doing all of this time? What were all these prosecutors doing all of this time? One of the I think takeaways from the statement that attorney made from the steps outside the courthouse.
Rich people don't have to worry about the law?
Exactly. Like, leave us alone, buddy. Like, this is par for the course. This is what we do. And the idea that Mueller was busy poking around, he didn't find what he was specifically tasked with looking at, which is Russia collusion. But all this other stuff, listen, this is boys will be boys. This is what we do.
But Midwin, what did you think about the judge saying he lived an otherwise blameless life when you're talking about charges that go back
a decade? Martha Stewart led an otherwise blameless life. Paul Manafort didn't.
Well, what's interesting in that I found astonishing, because essentially what the judge was saying is Manafort had never been caught. In other words, he had done all these things, but he had never been caught, and so therefore he lived an otherwise blameless life. So it's a very interesting way to look at it.